Bernie, Grania, Fanula, Fiacre, Emmett, members of the McGuinness family, honored clergy, President Higgins, Taoiseach, Jerry, former Prime Minister Ahern, former President McAleese, First Minister Foster, thank you for being here. To John Hume, Peter Robinson, all the others who were part of the amazing unfolding of Martin McGuinness's life. I was thinking about it. After all the breath he expended cursing the British over the years, he worked with 2 prime ministers and shook hands with the Queen. 4 Taoiseachs, navigating the complex politics of the North. As an American, I have to say a special word of appreciation to the sitting Taoiseach for what he said in the United States on St. Patrick's Day in behalf of the Irish immigrants. And as someone who spent sleepless nights in the beginning of the ceasefires and dealing with the aftermaths of them in the Good Friday Accord, I want to say a special word of appreciation to First Minister Foster for being here, because I know, and most people in this church know, that your life has been marked in painful ways by the Troubles. And I believe the only way a lasting peace can ever take hold and endure is if those who have legitimate griefs on both sides embrace the future together. I learned this from Nelson Mandela, who was a great friend of mine, who called me one day complaining as the president of South Africa that he was getting so much criticism. And I said, from the Afrikaners? He said, no, from my people. They think I've sold them out. After all, there he won 63% of the vote. It's inconceivable in a Western democracy to do such a thing now. And I said, what did you tell them? He said, yes, and I spent 27 years in jail, and they took all my best years away, and I didn't see my children grow up, and it ruined my marriage. And a lot of my friends were killed, and if I can get over it, you can too. We've got to build the future. And he said, now I want to say something about Martin McGuinness. I came to treasure every encounter. I liked him. They asked me to speak for 3 minutes. He could do this in 30 seconds. I could just hear him now. Here's my eulogy. I fought. I made peace. I made politics. I had a fabulous family that somehow stayed with me and endured it all. I had friends. I was married to Jerry almost as long as I was married to Bernie. It turned out I was pretty good at all this, and we got a lot done. But we didn't finish. And if you really want to honor my legacy, go make your own and finish. Finish the work of peace so we can all have a future together. Look, He was only 4 years younger than me. He grew up at a time of rage and resentment, not only in Ireland, but across the world. And it was pronounced here. One of 7 children in a Bogside family without an indoor toilet. That's a great political story, but I'm the last American president to ever live in a house without an indoor toilet, and it's very much overrated, except for its political value. He was part of the rage of his time. He hated the discrimination. He decided to oppose it by whatever means available to the passionate young, including violence. Somewhere along the way, for whatever reason, he decided to give peace a chance. Some of the reasons were principled, some were practical, but he decided. He was good about sticking with something he decided to do. And he succeeded because his word was good, his listening skills were good. He was not afraid to make a compromise, and he was strong enough to keep it if he made it. And finally, he realized that you could have an Ireland that was free and independent and self-governing and still inclusive. That the dreams of little children were no more or less legitimate just because of their faith background or their family's history or the sins of their parents. In the American law, there is a phrase that comes from the 18th century called corruption of the blood, that the sins of the parents used to be visited on their children, then their grandchildren, then their great-grandchildren. And we specifically prohibited that. Easy to say, hard to do. He was trying to do it. Most of the publicity Martin got as a politician was the very absurd notion that he actually got along with Ian Paisley. I thought it was great that he got a word in edgewise. I never could. But the thing I think he was proudest of, that I love to listen to him talk to, and we talked about it again 3 years ago this month when we walked across the bridge here with John Hume, was that when he became education minister in the transitional government, his first budget recommended a more than generous allocation in aid to the poorest schools in the Protestant neighborhoods, because he thought those children would be just as crippled by ignorance as Catholic children would, and that the only way out of poverty and the only way to give people the emotional space to learn to live together, work together, and share the future together was if they could have the dignity of a decent job and the empowerment of knowing they could take care of their families and give something more to their children. I could tell he was proud as punch of himself. Normally, it's not a good thing to be proud of yourself, but I think if there's a secret category of things you can be proud of, taking care of the children of people with whom you have been at odds is surely on that small list. So that's what he did. He persevered and he prevailed. He risked the wrath of his comrades and the rejection of his adversaries. He made honorable compromises and was strong enough to keep them and came to be trusted because his word was good. And he never stopped being who he was: a good husband, a good father, a faithful follower of the faith of his fathers and mothers, and a passionate believer in a free, secure, self-governing Ireland. The only thing that happened was he expanded the definition of us and shrunk the definition of them. The world at every period of insecurity faces a new wave of tribalism. If you really came here to celebrate his life and to honor the contribution of the last chapter of it, you have to finish his work. A great son of Derry, our friend Seamus Heaney, in his Nobel Prize speech, said the secret of his success was deciding to walk on air against your better judgment. Believe me, when the people who made this piece did it, every single one of them decided to take a flying leap into the unknown against their better judgment. It's about the only thing besides your faith and your love that makes life worth living. Our friend earned this vast crowd today. Even more, he earned the right to ask us to honor his legacy by our living, to finish the work that is there to be done. God bless you. Thank you.